Video log Friday, July 17, 2026. Michael Cook speaking. I'm at 1736 Route 9, Stewarts shops. I was here earlier this morning. Kind of leveled off and kind of mellow right now, but I want to talk about some stuff. So if you look at my hands right here, you look at my hand, you see that I, got bloody knuckles here. Yeah, because I came here to try to change my tire earlier. So this dude Brian trespassed me from all the Stewarts, and Mandy Mullen from security at the Stewart shops. All right, so I'm gonna make a formal complaint right now, since I already sent a 14-page complaint to your customer service place and nobody emailed me back. Stewart shops has proven that they're not very professional. So I used to do work for the Stewart shops for the Hearst Corporation. I would go to all the Stewart shops in Mechanicville and Stillwater and Malta and Round Lake. The store that Bree currently is the assistant manager of, off of Ruley Road, right down the street from my Aunt Terry's house. Oh, the place that, that was my last stop for a while. Oh yeah, she's the manager now. So I have some things to talk about right now. I'm going to do it from the road because I already had a conversation with a police officer earlier, right? And he was almost going to arrest me because discon. Right, so I got mad. All my shit was apart on the ground. They said that I had to leave the premises. I couldn't, finish my tire repair, and I couldn't use the air thing anymore. So I kind of want to talk about the circumstances here, right? This girl Bree used to live in my neighborhood. I met her 20 years ago. I didn't realize that it was her the whole entire time that I came here, but I've had this feeling that I recognize her from somewhere. And she was friends with a girl named Christine Brown. So Christine Brown and I had a brief stint relationship, and afterward, Bree and I had a conversation with Christine. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that, but I'm pretty sure she remembers. So anyway, I had a conversation with this dude Frank last April. I was talking to Frank, and Bree was over listening, eavesdropping on my conversation with Frank. And then from that point forward, she was just overly nice to me. So I made an audio recording last night kind of talking about how I would come to this place to get a sub just about every day for a couple of years. Because if you look at my arm here, right, I got hit by a car on Clifton Park Center Road on October 9, 2023, because this fucking bitch, Rebecca Carmen, had over at the Shenandoah District Office had me trespassed from the Shenandoah campus. But what's interesting is I was going over the campus, the Orangen campus, for 2.5 years, and nobody gave a shit until Bree was dropping her kids off at school one day. And I saw her at Orangen a couple times, but I go to the place that's right next to the fucking school, right? So I would come here every day. I would get ice and then fill up my thermoses with ice, right? I would get a sub. I would use the microwave. I would use the bathroom, and then I would kick rocks, right? No issues whatsoever. And then one day, this girl, she was working nights. I saw her at night. And then I saw her again the next day, and she's like, hey, what a coincidence. We were here last night, and we're here again today. And she started to say these comments that she would never say before, right? So sometimes when a girl likes you, you could say something not trying to be funny, and then they'll just start laughing or chuckling. And that's what Bree was doing for a while. One time I came in and I was kind of upset because the previous manager, Andrew, was here, and Andrew wasn't putting enough meat on my subs. And I walked up to Bree, and I don't know, maybe I came up to her like a little kid or something. And I was like, Andrew's subs suck ass. And then she looked at me with a serious look on her face for a second, and then it broke down and she snorted and laughed out loud. I still laugh about it when I think of it, right? So I've had plenty of positive interactions with these people, but the interaction I had this morning where Maddie's laughing at me. Oh, she's laughing at me. Yeah, laughing at me through the fucking window. Bitch, you got an A cup. You got flat tits, bro. I'm not interested in you. But Bree is fucking way hotter than you'll ever fucking be. So Bree was worthwhile, right? I'm not gonna fucking chase Maddie down and be like, oh, you know what? Even though I know you work at Venezzi's, I don't really care, right? Every time Maddie made a sub for me, the shit would have hair in it. Just about every time, right? Whenever Bree made my sub, that shit was delicious and I ate the whole fucking thing, right? Bree liked making my subs. Bree was very nice with me for a long time, right? And then I thought she was being nice to me for some other reason, like for a personal reason. And so I said, hey, why don't we, can we have a private conversation outside? Because I had respect for the establishment. I didn't want to, like, you know, screw up, like, you know, my ability to, like, come to this store or any other Stewarts for that matter. Right? Like, I can't go to any of these fucking stores now. So, like, I have to either get Bill Dake's attention and get Minnie Mullen to go suck a fucking dick. You know, maybe Bill Dake would be like, you know what? This dude has been a customer of mine for like 40 years. Nuh-uh, dude. No, we're going to get this situation resolved. If Bree was flirting with you, then I want to know about it because I want my customer to fucking be loyal to me. I don't want to fucking I don't want to get rid of a customer over a girl. No, that's what their mentality should be, but it isn't. You know, back in June of last year, I think it was June 19th, June 18th. I don't know, I came in here, or June 20th. I came in here one night and Bree was counting the drawer. I said, did I do something to upset you? And she's like, no. Like, well, you're giving me totally different treatment than you were giving me like a couple weeks ago. She made me a strawberry shortcake milkshake on June 5th, 2025. Right, I came in here like around like 7:30 p.m. and she made the milkshake. She's like, would you like to make it extra thick? I was like, well, for like another $2.50. I was like, well, like what I was thinking was I'll give you something extra thick for free. Right? That was happening every time that I fucking like had conversations with this girl, and I can't fucking get away with saying like that, something like that, and then continue doing business. No, that's something that needs to be done like in private. Right? She's got a couple kids. I, believe it or not, actually care about this girl taking care of her fucking kids. Does Maddie have kids? No, I don't fucking think so. No, Bree has kids. And she's a good mother from everything that I could fucking see. She brings her fucking kids to school, right? She's like a manager at the store. I had a conversation with Bree and Andrew, the other man, Andrew, the cool man. Well, they're both cool. The Andrew that still works here. I walked up to them where those picnic tables are. I was like, you know, you guys ever thought about becoming a manager? And like, I knew a manager at the other store, this lady Nancy, who's now the manager over on where Jolly Mobile used to be across from Wendy's. Right? She's the manager there. But like, if I like talk to her about this letter that Manny Mullen gave me, she'll probably get pissed about it and say something to Manny and be like, nah, I'll let him in my fucking store. Nah, you can't fucking... You know, I've known that lady Nancy for fucking like 20 or 30 years. She was friends with my mother, right? She worked at Key Corp. Nancy and I worked at Key Corp. I didn't work at the bank Key Corp down there. Nope. I worked at Corporate Woods. So like, when I see some girl like Maddie laughing at me, and she works at Stewarts and Venezzi's, right? It's gonna like make me think, you know, like nothing you do is fucking difficult, bitch. You're gonna wind up calling the fucking cop to have me trespass from the location rather than just let me fucking, you know, do my tire replacement and you know, kick rocks and be out of here. And fuck you. You know? I'm never, like, I'm not saying any of this towards Bree. I'm not mad at Bree. I'm kind of upset about how things have gone down. I am pretty upset with Brian, but ultimately I know that he's just a big pussy, and he knows that I'll kick the shit out of him if we ever got in a fight. And that's why he had me trespass. You know, like, I kept like talking to him. I'm like, I want to have a conversation with Bree. And he's like, okay, well, I'll get back to you on that. And then he never got back to me on that. Right? So like, after Bree like transferred to another store, that was it for a while. This guy, what's his name? Dave. The guy had a tag on that said 36 years. Or, you know, the dude's been working for Stewarts for the last 37 years. You know, like, what I can say is that if you have like that much dedication to this company, Then consider this. I'm at Calvary Cemetery right now. I'm here to visit a very special person who is so dedicated to his work that he wound up being killed on the job. So I hope I have your full and undivided attention. My father would have been 65 years old today. I have a lot to say. Today is July 18th, 2026. Michael Cook speaking. It's currently, I don't know, 3 o'clock or something. I'm not going to check the time right now, but yeah, I'm at Calvary Cemetery. My father was murdered on October 23rd, 1995. There we go. Now you can read it. And someone left those. I'm probably going to wind up putting them back. But they're plastic, so I have no idea how long they've been here. You know, I don't think my mother's been here in the last 15 or 20 years, but I've come here at least 5 times in the last 10 years. Because back in 2018, I was having a conversation with my dad, much like I'm talking right now. And as I started to walk away towards my car, I saw a shooting star come down from the heavens. And it was at that moment that I realized that my wish had been granted. So I have seen numerous shooting stars, and usually I'm thinking of something at that particular moment. But I said to my father at some point in 2018 that I'm going to spend the rest of my life leaving a legacy in his name, in your name. So what does that mean? I can't expect that my conversations with various people in the community, Shenandoah Central District Office, the Stewarts Corporation, or the Globe Corporation to give a flying fuck about what happened to this man, because I don't know. This man was shot in the head on the job by Zontel Gordon on October 23rd, 1995. He was working for the OK Taxi Company, right? This man died on the job. You know, my dad faced a lot of issues, right? He got hit by a motorcycle when I was 2 months old, and he needed to get back surgery. And his back surgeon, Dr. Kite, issued him an appointment card with the date July 21st, 1989. And then on the back of that appointment card, my dad had written 785-3221 Jesse Pickett. That is Daniel Pickett's brother, the owner of the Infrastructure Corporation. So this man has been trying to tell me something about that fucking link for some time. I don't know what the link is, but when I start to like talk to people about like what happened to me at Infrastructure and the shit that happened afterward and the ransomware attack on January 15, 2019, and how, like, you know, days before that, you know, I made an audio recording talking about Dan Pickett, and I think he was able to get knowledge on the existence of that audio log, and he heard it, and he might have had something to do with that attack. I don't know. There's so many, like, I have considered so many different angles. You know what? Sometimes people will say, you think everyone's out to get you, don't you? Sometimes that is the case, however. You know, I used to like watch this Court TV or True TV or whatever. It was always this guy that would like fucking say it, like, wow, that's such a ridiculous statement. Everyone's always out to get you. So like anytime that you watch those fucking programs, they do a really good job of making like people that are saying things that are rational sound stupid and ridiculous, right? But now I'm here in front of my father's grave, right? And I start talking about like dedication to a job. You know, I was on the way here, and I was thinking to myself, there's a lot of brand new Stewarts shops. I think they're tearing down the one that's next to the Crescent Bridge in Half Moon, and then they're building one in Cohoes, where the ice cream shop used to be. It's just going to be a Stewarts shop. Right? And then like all of the Stewarts that I passed had been like upgraded. So the Stewarts Corporation has plenty of money to pay their employees more money. What do I mean by that? The average store has less than 10 employees. What is their rate of pay? Well, I'll tell you, like most of the Stewarts employees make somewhere between like $20,000 a year to like $50,000 a year. But like you need to like make like $25 an hour to be making that much. And I can guarantee you that like most people in the company aren't making that. You know, this guy Dave, he's not a normal employee. For someone to work somewhere for like 37 years, you need to have like stock options or something like that, or a 401k, right? And I was thinking, like, why is Stewarts so successful? Is it like their customer service? Their customer service is fine, but it's some of the products or the services that they provide. Like, selling tobacco, which causes cancer, and alcohol, which also causes cancer and cirrhosis of the liver. And then, people wind up like, drinking and driving and causing accidents and fatalities. And then when those people die, whether they get cancer or from the products that they're being sold, or they get in an accident and then they die from like a drunk driver or whatever. The Stewarts Corporation is getting kickbacks from shit like that. And they're not the only ones. Right? Like, how are they able to afford to upgrade so many stores? Right? But then every single one of their employees at the stores is below the poverty line. So last time I checked, the federal poverty line was $55,000 a year. But that was like 3 years ago. So it's probably like $70,000 now. Right? And the national debt is $39 trillion, right? So why am I saying all this? Oh, you know what else I forgot? The lottery tickets. So the lottery. Stewarts makes money off of people buying lottery tickets. They don't make money off of the lottery tickets themselves, but because people are going there to buy the lottery tickets, they will buy additional things. So with those 4 things that I mentioned, and gasoline and diesel. But I don't think they make much money on gasoline and diesel. I think they maybe make 50 cents a gallon, if that. So it's a convenience. Stewarts Corporation and like the Globe Corporation and most other supermarkets, and for that matter, they generate like a 5% profit. It's not very efficient. I don't know. I think Stewarts probably makes more than that. But I don't know. I would have to have hard figures or numbers. So here, rather than let this go over on time and then have to forget about what I was saying, I'm going to end this and then continue in a second. All right, so I thought about what the average employee makes. And, the average employee for Stewarts has to make somewhere between $12 an hour and $17 an hour. That's what I determined. So I'm circling around to a point, but I'm trying to recall some of the stuff that I wrote before I came here. I'm trying to do it from memory rather than to look at the document. And I force myself to do this because I know most people in society, they'll give up and they'll go read the thing and then they'll come back and then finish it up. But because of my presentation style, right, I like to record continuous video. I might segment the video, but this is all raw performance. This is all my rhetoric. And I'm very skilled at it. I know I am. I know a lot of people will pay attention to what I have to say. So here's the thing, right? This guy Dave came in the Stewarts shop in response to this situation between me and this girl Bree, right? And he came in because I guess, maybe she felt uncomfortable. We had an argument. It was the first time she and I had argued about really anything. And she was lying to me. And she was flipping the light switch and kicking me out 5 minutes before the place would close. And then Andrew was like, oh, you got to leave. And she was lying. I was definitely doing something. I definitely did something to upset this girl, and she doesn't want to answer the question. She wants to evade it. Now, here's what I think happened. She was having issues with her boyfriend, and that's why she was giving me the attention that she was. And then when it became apparent that like I wasn't willing to like do something quick and dirty on the down low, and I wanted to like, you know, be vocal about it, well, she had an issue with that. So like, whatever. I'm gonna move on from that subject and start to talk about other things. Kind of lost my train of thought here. Probably review the document, but I wanted to talk about like my father and how often I would come here, and the shooting star that I talked about, and you know my goals and like my plans, right? So like I can talk about like my programming endeavors all day long, but ultimately I have a goal. I have 3 goals in mind, right? The first goal is fighting entropy online, get that up, make it the fastest way to reinstall operating systems across a domain of computers or a network of domains of computers in the least amount of time with all the updates, you know, like to make a program that does that in addition to like endpoint protection. I don't know. We'll talk about like salt stack type shit at some point. The thing is like I might not actually have to build this entire project, but I want to build something that's, you know, like more well thought out than, you know, like oftentimes I'll encounter like software engineers who like work at a company or a team of people, right? But like they don't own any of the code that they write when they work for that company. They don't own any of that code. So all of their experience is being sucked up by like the company they work for if they're not writing their own material outside of the job. So anything that you did at the job is going to constitute as their property, you know? I don't know. I might be wrong about that to some extent, but I've had a lot of conversations with other like software engineers. And usually they work in a team of people, and they have like a lead engineer who's like a ninja grade programmer, but his attention and time is so divided that like he can't keep up on all of the things that he's got to update, right? Whereas like in a team of people, you can you can delegate tasks. So like, you know, Stewarts Corporation, that's what they do at the stores. They delegate tasks, right? And then every once in a while you get like the district manager to come in who, I don't know his name, but he'll come in with like a calculator and just start like manually punching in the numbers. I don't know why you would want to do it that way. It's pretty slow. You could improve the process and do it a lot faster if you use something like Excel, right? But like I think that guy is intentionally doing his job slowly because like he's probably there because of nepotism. A friend of his has him in that position, and so like he's gonna get paid above the poverty line and like manage all the people below the poverty line. And like because he's above the poverty line, it doesn't really matter if he takes forever to do his job to account for all the shit in each store. Yeah, that's bad district management to use a fucking slow ass calculator, bro. Like you should be using Excel. You know, like I'm a programmer, dude. Like I saw this district manager at the Stewarts Corporation, like at Brian's store, 1763 Route 9 or 1736 Route 9, right? And I don't know, I was thinking to myself, how does this dude like have a fucking job? Like he is doing it slowly. He was nice and everything, right? I was chatting with him while I was writing this 18-page letter to Bree back in like the end of January of this year. Yeah, Brian didn't know that, and Luella didn't know, and that dude didn't know that I was basically writing a long ass fucking letter to this girl, right? So like I have plenty to say. I don't know whether or not I've communicated the fact that like I think at a pretty high level. Like some people will listen to this and they'll be like, this dude's a fucking genius. right? My father was a genius. He's like went to Hudson Valley Community College to study programming and physics or calculus. Like, yeah, physics and I think calculus. And computer is basically digital electronics, digitronics. So my dad did sort of the same thing as Capital Digitronics. So like my dad would work on stuff like equipment for radios and computers, digital electronics, radios. What do cabs have in them? Radios. What can people do with radios? They can listen on the scanner. So is it possible that other people were involved in having my father murdered? Yup, it is. Along with Sammy Santa Casero? Yup, it is. Both men died of the same exact style, shot in the back of the head. I am not convinced at all that those were totally unrelated events. I know that like a lot of people will jump to the hastiest conclusion that they can make and say no one else was involved, and that's why I often say that maybe people aren't stupid, I'm just exponentially more intelligent than them. Because like that is the thing that comes to my mind is when you have the same radio dispatcher, the same cab company, right? Same dispatcher, same cab company. They both lived in the same fucking neighborhood around the corner from each other. Here, I thought I had my hand in the view. Right? So they both lived in Saratoga County. They both lived in the same neighborhood. Both shot in the head in the exact same way. Well, I think I just said that though. You know, like at first glance, it could probably look like a foiled robbery, right? But once I dug into the details of the case, Tyrell Crawford, the second guy, there were three guys that were in the car with my dad that night, along with a fare that he had dropped off, and that was the last guy that saw my father alive. I guess he had testified or something. He was worried about what these three guys were going to do. So my theory is that these three guys were given orders. And those orders, I really think they came from the KGB. I don't think this was a fucking robbery at all. I think this was an execution or an assassination. And that it's related, it could possibly be related to what happened to me on May 26, 2020 and January 15, 2019. Right, so like that is never going to leave my mind. Right? This dude right here, I'm going to end this and then start it again. So this dude right here said to Aaron Demers and I a couple of weeks before he was murdered, if those expletives try to get me, I'm going to put my foot to the floor and take him with me to hell. So that's exactly what my father did. I might go to the location where he crashed his cab and then he was shot. I've done that numerous times. I had to drive by that area earlier. But it's been raining all fucking day, man. Like, I wanted to get here earlier and make this video sooner. I don't know. I got 100 pounds of shit that I carry with me all the time. I don't know. Maybe not 100. Maybe more like 50 or 60. I know this bag right here is probably like 50 or 60 pounds. Maybe 40. I don't know. It's not that heavy. Maybe less. But yeah, having to carry all that shit all around constantly and then recharge the battery. It's just to like visit my dad. And like, you know, previous times I would drive my car here, right? I would just drive my car here. But like, I'm the type of kid who will fucking get on a bike and, you know, ride my bike like 20 or 40 miles to go visit my fucking dad. You know? I don't expect like everybody to have that sort of like, I don't know, appreciation for what I'm doing. But I can tell you right now, I am fucking goddamn certain my mother has not been here in the past 15 or 20 years. And maybe once. If she'd be like, you know what? I'm going to show up like on the day he died rather than the day he was born. You know, I was thinking about that. Why do I visit my dad on the day he died? That's fucking stupid. He doesn't want to remember that. He doesn't want to hang out with me like fucking thinking about that. No, he wants to think about like every cool birthday he had. So that's why I'm here now. I don't come here every year. Because I haven't been here in 3 years. And the last time I was here was because of a situation that happened at the library. So when my father was killed 30 years ago, most of these headstones were not here. I think his was here along with like several others. I mean, all those over there were there, or most of them. But this one right here, I remember the day that this one was put here. The Thursday, October, I don't know, he died on October 23rd, which is Monday. It's Thursday, October 26th, 1995. Sometimes I will say like 2026 when I meant like an old date like that, 1995. And then I'll play it back and I realize I said the wrong thing. I don't know. My dad has been here this whole time, right? This dude showed a lot of dedication to like me and my mother, but him and my mother had a lot of problems. So what a lot of people don't know is that like my mother and father argued a lot. My dad wanted to divorce my father. My dad wanted to divorce my mother. And one day my dad asked me like, hey, would you rather live with your mother or me? And like, I didn't know how to fucking answer that. I didn't want to answer it. And he like made me. And I was like, I don't know, my mom. I don't know. I didn't fucking like know what to say. I didn't want him like gone or whatever. No, like I had a feeling like he was asking me that because like he didn't think anyone gave a flying fuck about what was going to happen to him. Yeah, this happened like not long before. Right around the time he told me and Aaron Demers, like, hey, if they try to come get me, I'm going to put my foot to the floor and take them with me to hell. Right? My dad predicted what would happen to him. He knew that these guys were coming around looking for him specifically. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of concerned about. It's like they had like been looking for him for weeks. Him specifically. I think that there is an ulterior motive for the murder. I think there is an ulterior motive that Zontel Gordon, Clifton Williamson, and Tyrell Crawford kept their mouths shut about who shot my father. Right? I started to mention that Tyrell Crawford had a second weapon. Right? But like my Uncle Thomas, he told me that he had the wrong ammunition in the fucking gun. I don't think that Tyrell Crawford did that unintentionally. I think he intentionally got the wrong bullets for the gun so that he could convince Zontel that like he wasn't a pussy and then he would go with a loaded gun and rob a man. Right? That's an alternate explanation. Right? But I think that Zontel Gordon like was committed to killing my father. Someone told him that he needed to go, and I am determined to fucking find out the real answer. And I don't think I'm going to get it from Zontel. I don't think I'm going to get it from, like, you know, the Stewarts Corporation. I don't think I'm going to get it from really, like, anybody in Saratoga County. No, I think, like, I have to do something with the Microsoft Corporation. Yeah, so, like, one of the things that I have had experienced over the last several years are these various RCEs, remote code execution. I've talked about those before. I have videos of this thing called the God Mode cursor. And in those videos, you can see an artifact that shows up on the screen. Inexperienced system administrators will think that it is a problem with the hardware. However, if it was a problem with the hardware, it would not have been reproducible on multiple systems. So I have video evidence of this thing showing up on an Asus Q504 UA. I have evidence of this thing showing up on Lenovo Think Center. And then I also have evidence of this showing up on a Dell Optiplex. They all have the Intel graphics driver, or the Intel integrated graphics processing unit. It's starting to rain, so I gotta like bring all my shit over here. I mean, it's been raining all day, but it's gonna pick up. So, just get my shit under the tree here. I'm not gonna make this too much longer, but I could fucking do this all day and talk about like all these things that go through my mind You know, like the least of my concerns is like trying to have a fucking pissing match with people at the Stewarts Corporation, right? So like I'll do like research, right? And I'll talk about like how is Stewarts able to have so many stores? Like I said, all those things that I mentioned, right? And then like also like most other companies, most of the employees, when they go for a performance review, they will know when an employee is exceeding their expectations, but they usually just say everybody's just meeting expectations, so there's no real reason to give them a raise. They give them something small, and like they come up with excuses not to pay the employees more money, right? And so like this winds up making the employees fucking salty when they don't get like a decent raise from a performance review, right? But like they do this intentionally at some places where like your performance doesn't really matter in terms of like, you know, making a decent raise every once in a while. No, they're gonna bullshit you. They're gonna bullshit you and hope that like you fall for it, and that you work like the same fucking intensity, and then you wind up exceeding their expectations and putting a lot of money into their pocket. Meanwhile, like they can just say that you're only meeting the expectations. So the only way to get around that is, you know, if you know you busted your ass working for somebody, like you outperformed basically everybody else that worked at a particular store, like I used to do at Mild Wally's. Yeah, I used to work at Mild Wally's, dude. And I remember the night that I set the highest sales record for the delivery drivers. Brian Cobbleman, the owner, called me the next day. He's like, how the hell did you do that? I was like, what? He's like, you like left a record. I didn't even do it intentionally, right? I just did it by accident. No, I'll tell you exactly what it was. I'm going to split this up, though. So what it was is I would answer the phones. I would put in the orders, right? And then I would go hang up the ticket. And then I would, you know, help the pizza person, and then go in the back and then start helping the cooks in the back. And sometimes they'd be outside or whatever, and so I would fill in and do all their shit for them. You know, put the sauce on the fucking the chicken wings and shake them up. Mild Wally's had the best wings of Albany for like, I don't know, several straight years. It was fucking busy at Mild Wally's, dude. Like Brian Cobbleman had a real good handle over like making good food. I think he used to be a driver and then he wound up buying the place, so I don't know if all those recipes are originally his, but even if they weren't, like he did a pretty good job of being consistent about like the food quality and the taste. So one thing that I miss about working at Mild Wally's actually is I don't know, they had this fucking Philly cheesesteak. They would put like a packet of roast beef in the fryer real quick, and along with the onions and the peppers, and sometimes the mushrooms. You pull that out and put it onto like a bun and then or like shake it up in hickory sauce and then put it in the thing, and then put the Swiss cheese on it and then put it into the salamander. Wow, do I sound like I could actually work at the Stewarts Corporation? Yeah, like I can fucking run circles around most of the people that work at the Stewarts Corporation, dude. Right? Including like at the corporate headquarters, right? Like, I'm not a fucking lazy fuck, dude. I figure out how to do 10 people's jobs, right? And well, like you'll have like 10 people making $25,000 a year or less. You'll have me at some point, like people with my experience and expertise at coding and engineering networks and security. The average going rate for that is like $250,000 per year for my current skill set. And I know for a fact that like Microsoft knows that I only really want to do programming on their level, and that I won't settle for anything less than their extremely high build quality, right? So like Microsoft, they have a pretty high standard. They have a much higher standard than most other companies. They have a fucking way higher standard than Stewarts does, right? And they'll know when you're lying to them about something, and then like, you know, like they'll respond to you accordingly. But like if you're like me and you make these logs or videos or whatever, or you write documents like I would do, like I was remembering like how many documents I would write over the years. When I graduated from Capital Region Career and Technical School in 2003, I surprisingly got an award for having the best portfolio, writing portfolio at Capital Region Career and Technical School. I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, dude, you got some top-notch writing skills, dude. And then I was even offered a scholarship to ITT Technical Institute, but I didn't want to go right after graduation. I wanted to have some time in the field, like time, like working a real job or whatever. So I wound up like working with my Uncle Tom at 46 State Street, Cook's Deli. It's no longer there. Yeah, my Uncle Tom, his ex-wife Terry Cook, you know, lives four doors down the street from fucking Bree's new store, dude. You know. So anyway, I tangented a few times, right? Like I wanted to like circle around to saying some shit. I'm gonna wind up catching like all the stuff that I missed or didn't finish, but I don't want to make this like a super long edit session, so I'm gonna stick to relevant stuff. Anyway, there's somebody here. Yeah, so I don't know, dude. I think about what happened to my dad a lot, and I don't get a lot of sympathy or empathy from a lot of people when I tell them about what happened to him. Right? Like I try to like tell people about what happened to my father, and most people don't give a shit. Like whatever, dude. So it is what it is, right? If someone's gonna put me in a position, oh yeah, I forgot. I wanted to go over this letter here, right? So yesterday, when the state police trespassed me from the location, they gave me this paperwork. So, like, yeah, anybody can pause that and read it, right? I have no intention of calling that phone number because that is a trap. See how it says also, be advised that any type of harassment or contact, either by telephone, mail, email, or any other form directed to any employee of the Stewarts Shops Corporation will be dealt with immediately with criminal prosecution. So what that means is like, it's basically unenforceable with the, like some of what they're saying. If I send them like an email or call them or mail them, yeah, that's actionable, right? But any other form directed to any employee, like what does that fucking mean? That's pretty vague, right? But then like just ignore the rest. All questions or comments should be directed to me at our corporate office by calling. Oh, I thought you just said that, like, I'll be criminally prosecuted if I call. Oh, so it's a trap.
Admiral, we have enemy ships in Sector 47. It's a trap.
That's what that is. And, like, the police officer didn't want to, like, give me the thing, so I had to take a picture of it. So I just want, like, people to understand, like, how fucking smart I am. That document right there is a trap. It should say, you are to refrain from any mail, telephone, email, contact whatsoever, with the exception of, you can call me at this phone number. That is how that document should be written. I can only imagine how many thousands of times these people have had to put that letter out, right? And it was a trap every single time. At least the way that it's phrased. It might not necessarily be a trap, but at this point, like, if they're going to go so far as to, like, trespass me from all the fucking stores, I don't fucking trust these people. No, you want to fucking do business with me for, like, 40 years? Like, the last couple of years, I've gone in there and fucking bought all sorts of food and shit. No, it's time to kick a fucking customer out for good or whatever. Nah. That's a pretty foolish mentality to have, I think. But those are just my thoughts, right? They are willing to protect, like, you know, their employees that will work their ass off for like $12 to $17 an hour, and then they get like, you know, like, nobody at the fucking Stewarts shops should think that, like, your job is super important. We're like, oh shit, I can call the cops and like say some shit and get someone arrested like that. All right. Well, that just proves what sort of qualities or properties you have, or what your principles are. So, here's what my principles are. At some point, all the videos that I have of these artifacts that show up, they will continue to occur. I'm pretty sure. I thought they would I thought they would stop like a long time ago, but they started showing up again. In addition to like the mouse scroll events, right? So I don't have a faulty mouse, but every once in a while it'll scroll up or down. It's because like someone from the Microsoft Cyber Defense Operations Center. Yeah, they have like something on my computer that will send all of the instruction, like any of my keystrokes or mouse movements or whatever. Or maybe it's just a connection to Visual Studio Code, and every time that I wind up opening that, they can see like what I've changed and what I haven't. Like, these people are smart, right? And when I run into people in society, I think there's no way that they could be doing that, dude. They don't really have a reason to do that. It's like, yeah, they do. They like my code. I speak their language. I know a lot about the Microsoft operating system, the Microsoft Windows operating system, in addition to Linux, right? And when I say I'm a security engineer, you know, don't tell me that you're some fucking guy who used to be the bailiff at Clifton Park Town Court. You know, the other night I wanted to record, like, you know, I didn't actually want to record anything at the court that night, but he's like, make sure your phone is off. Here, let me extend this real quick, and I'll end it with that. So you're not like allowed to go into a courtroom with your phone on anymore because people were secretly recording the court appearances. But I think that should be only applied to people when they are not in front of the judge. So this bailiff was like, oh, you know, like, the digital recording process can't be edited or like changed. That dude is fucking stupid, bro. Like, he told me he was a private investigator for like 20 years, right? I'm like, oh, well, I have like videos of Microsoft Corporation remoting into my system. And he's like, dude, no, I don't believe it. I have a video of it. He's like, they shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, well, they can do that. He's like, no, you own a copy of that operating system. And I'm like, no, I have read the terms of service. I am a fucking Microsoft certified professional, and I have studied the security engineering and system administration tracks, the official tracks offered by Microsoft. And what I can tell you is that dude doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So when he says something like, oh, I've only been doing this shit for 20 years, and I have to like write that off and be like, I've been doing this a lot longer than that, dude. You know? I know that the court will play fucking games. I know that a prosecutor or some of the cops will watch this fucking video and try to find anything that they can take out of context and try to get me in trouble for it. Some people will, right? But guess what? I am flexing the muscle of the First Amendment, and I'm giving you an in-depth like view. Like, I'm giving people like a chance to like see what my life is like. Because I won't be here forever, right? And I have reasons to be upset about things. And I don't want to like make every video of me being pissed off or whatever. But I think I see a pretty compelling reason why I should fucking be a little bit more vigilant and persistent than most people in fucking society. So what I mean is this. When I like talk shit about like Rebecca Carmen or this fucking dipshit manager Brian at fucking 1736 Route 9. Here's what I mean. Every time I would go to this fucking store to get a sub, everybody that worked there would have an average time of how long it would take for them to make my food. Brian's numbers were like 10 minutes. There was no point at whatsoever where that dude fucking stopped whatever he was doing, made my sub, and was done with it in less than 10 minutes, and then cashed me out for it, right? But like Katie, the girl Katie, I used to call her Kid Flash because sometimes she would have it done ahead of time. I had to splice this in here because I had to review all the content. I missed a lot of stuff. I'm not going to circle around all the points that I made, but I am still here, and I wanted to talk about like my experience at that store. Right, Katie was by far the most professional person that worked at that store. Right, she would have my subs made ahead of time sometimes. And then Bree was like right after that. I think Bree got to a point where like she was kind of upset that Katie was making my subs as often. And then she's like, you know what? No, I want to make your subs, dude. Yeah, Bree and I would like have conversations sometimes. And like, I remember the first time I said something to her, and I think she took it as sexual innuendo. She looked away with a smile on her face. Yeah, I said something about how I wanted the sub made, and I realized that what I said could be taken multiple ways, and she almost giggled. you know. So like whatever. Bree was really good at making my subs, you know, and everybody else had like problems. You know, this girl Maddie would oftentimes put hair in my sub. I don't think she did that intentionally. I think she's just careless. And sometimes she would put like slice the tomatoes so thin I didn't even know they were on there. Don't slice the tomatoes that thin, dude. And sometimes she put American cheese on an Italian mix. How much fucking sense does that make? You know, they would tell me whenever they ran out of stuff, they would constantly run out of like salami or ham or whatever. You know, not a huge deal. I was pretty like lenient with these people. Like I didn't like expect. I didn't go in there like demanding to make my sub now. I just noticed that like some of them would take a lot longer to make it, right? And then sometimes, like somebody like John would put a half a head of lettuce on my fucking sub, and it would be like soaking wet by the time I went to eat it. You know, the tall guy that didn't want to like, you know, take my roll of quarters and give me a $10 bill. He's like, oh no, we don't need your change. And when I know that like the stores blow through quarters constantly, yeah, you're not gonna convince me that they don't. Right? Like I've done retail. I talked about that in this video. I've worked at like a lot of different places. And what I can tell you is that when I worked at Computer Answers, I would go to businesses and charge upwards of like $150 an hour for my labor, my services and labor. So that is why I started my company, Securities Plus LLC. And you know, I didn't like start it thinking that I was gonna wind up like getting into like the depths of like application development, processor architecture, hardware implementations, hardware abstraction layers. I don't know. I could go on and on and on about how much I know about the Windows operating system. I can guarantee you that like I can probably talk at length about many of the various components of the operating system at a more proficient rate than like people at the State University of New York, or not the State University. Not SUNY. I'm talking about the state campus. So those IT workers, all the IT workers that work for the state campus, like the New York State Department of Taxation and shit like that. Like most of the people that work at those buildings are not technically proficient at all. Like I run into a lot of them and they tell me, yeah, I used to work for the state. My Aunt Vina used to work for the state. This guy Ray used to work for the state. This guy Parag works for the state. Yeah, a lot of people work for the state. And what I can tell you is that like every once in a while, I don't know, this guy that I used to do work for down the road here, he used to work there. He used to be an investment banker or something like that. And he started doing his own thing. Kind of dovetailing into a bunch of different subjects, but the point that I wanted to get to is that I lost track of what I was saying. This happens a lot. I was talking about like how these people would make my subs. I started talking about the operating system and various components, and I tainted in another direction. I do this a lot, but the thing is like as I do that, I know that I'm introducing discussion-worthy topics. But the thing is like I don't have a fucking photographic memory, bro. One of my best friends when I was growing up, he did have a photographic memory, so like he could remember everything. But I don't have that. I think there's people at Microsoft that do though. They never forget nothing. No, they can remember everything down to like the microsecond of a given day 30 years ago or whatever. Kind of like I remember how like my dad's headstone was like put there. They can remember everything in their life about that. I don't know. I don't know if like a lot of people have a photographic memory, but that dude did. So anyway, I talked about a lot of shit, and I don't really know how I'm going to curtail it all together, because like if I had more opportunity to come all this way and make more video, then I could just fucking keep coming back and practice it again. But today is July 18th, and I wanted to come here for my dad's birthday, right? And I wanted to staple it together with the video that I recorded yesterday, and I waited a little bit of time because, you know, it's always a good idea to like let some time go by before you decide to do something serious. I think that I made many points in this video that I think people will think about, and they'll be like, you know what, let's come up with another strategy other than like being assholes to each other. And look, I just wanted to get this in here since I'm passing the building. This is the FBI field, Albany field office, and I'm at 200 McCarty Ave right now. Back in 2020, I tried to come here and like talk about what happened in 2020. And I talked to the guard at the front gate, and he wasn't helpful. Basically told me to piss off, so I just left the USB thumb drive right there. Yeah, I think the Cyber Defense Operations Center has been monitoring me on behalf of the FBI. So I don't know if like anybody in this building besides Christopher Murphy. I don't think I've spoken to anybody other than Investigator Murphy back in January of 2020, and the guy at the front desk at Paragon Security or some shit. Yeah, I mean, I haven't even been here in like 5 or 6 years, and somehow I remember certain details. It's almost like I could have a photographic memory with certain things, but not all things, just certain things. Well, anyway, I'm headed to like where my dad was shot. I don't want to record the whole entire way down there, so that's going to do it for this video. Alright, making an extension of the videos I made today. Here's some prime retail space. Stewarts should build a shop here. That's a joke. Hey, how's it going? This is the neighborhood where my father was murdered. You know, it's not that far from where he's buried. So this is Franklin Street, and it's pretty windy right now. It's probably going to be picking up massive amounts of wind. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it out of the thing without like fucking up the thing. I'm not going to start this over. I'm just going to speak like closer to the microphone or whatever. So this is the way into the area that he went. Well, I don't know like his exact direction, but I'm getting over to Plum Street right here. So these are Green Street. This is Green Street Apartments. My dad would come here a lot and drop off fares. My dad used to bring me like with him when he was delivering or driving his cab, and it's a good thing he didn't bring me the last night he was alive, because I'd probably be dead too. I don't know. I think I got lucky, and my dad did not get very lucky at all. These look fucking brand new. But yeah, this is like the last street that my father was alive on, or at least, you know, not shot in the head. That building straight ahead is where he crashed. And in previous videos, you can see the difference in the color of paint. Not sure if you'll be able to see a difference in the paint now. But yeah, I don't know if this curb was this is a new curb, but he smashed right into yeah, you can see the difference in the paint. I don't know if it's going to be visible until I zoom in, and maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, this is where he crashed, and then yeah, I don't know. It's like right near the DMV offices over there. I think those are DMV offices. Oh yeah, this is where my father died. And I remember like one time I was working at Mild Wally's. I had a delivery to like this blue house here, or maybe the one next to it. And as soon as I saw Plum Street, I said, I'm not taking that. And Brian found out that like I didn't want to take that particular delivery. Well, the guys I was working with at Mild Wally's, they thought I was just making excuses. Like, oh, he just doesn't want to go down to the south end. Well, I had a reason for it. I don't want to go down to the south end all that often, but when I see Plum Street, I think that's where my father was murdered. So when I was working at Mild Wally's one night, they wanted me to come here, and I was like, no, I'm not taking that. They were really pissed about it until I said, you know, my fucking dad was murdered there, dude. I'm not fucking going there. And then Brian found out about it the next day, and I had never fucking in my entire life of knowing this guy ever felt like he was sincere about a goddamn thing until he said, Mike, I found out what happened. I'm sorry, dude. You know, like, I didn't realize that's what happened down there. I thought it was for a totally different reason. You know, every once in a while, Brian and I would butt heads, but every once in a while he would do something like that and really show that, like, he cared, right? So, yeah, I got a lot of history with Brian Koppelman. Can't say it's all great, but can't say much of it is really all that bad. Just a matter of, like, he had high standards. Right? I mentioned, like, he was pretty consistent about, like, his food and shit. You know, I think he also, like, did something with the database that he had. He's like running Windows XP with a touchscreen software on the displays, and I came up with something that could replace that like years ago. But I have like a bunch of different other ideas, and I don't think that I would have all of these ideas or be able to build them if I didn't have something really traumatic like motivate me to have a higher standard than everybody else. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean like my code all the time. Could be my writing, could be like the way that I treat people. You know, sometimes I will insult people, but sometimes when you insult somebody, you're doing something that everyone else isn't doing. Like sometimes you'll surround yourself with yes men, and they'll like compliment you even though they don't mean it. And then you'll get somebody who's like, "No, what you're doing fucking sucks and it's stupid." And it's the only person that's telling you the truth. And then like people will like, you know, be friends with, continue to be friends with the people that are like casually lying to them, and the person that's telling them the truth is like their best friend in a way. And it's kind of worked. And you got to respect like what the other, you know, like don't surround yourself with people who think just like you and agree with everything you say. You need to have people in your life that disagree with you about shit, but if you have too much of that, that's going to stress you out, and that is fucking toxic. So it needs to be a healthy balance of like what you agree with, what you don't agree with, what's rational, what's not rational. And what I've determined is that like if you're doing anything with research and security, people continue to amaze me. Let's put it that way. And look,